Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is where you are. I thought I would do a briefish video on kind of like current events and how things are developing at this moment in time. Things are changing very rapidly, as you probably will know. Today was the much anticipated Trump-Putin phone call where Trump would put out the possibility of a ceasefire and negotiations for it. Some of the details have just started coming out, and quite frankly, I'll let you decide. But so Putin's demands were, and let's put this on the table first. This was supposed to be negotiating a 30-day ceasefire for both sides. So I made some notes as I was on my way home from work. So the Kremlin statement that's gone out is from Putin is that complete cessation of foreign military aid, sharing of intelligence information with Kiev should stop. Putin has also said that Ukraine cannot mobilise or resupply its troops during this time. They also said they would stop targeting Ukrainian energy infrastructure. I think they hinted also to do with shipping in the Black Sea, so Ukraine could maybe have a better chance of getting some of their exports out. But that was still in talks. But that was the only thing that they kind of gave them. So Ukraine can't remobilise their troops. They can't resupply their troops. Then the allies that they have can't send them supplies or rearm them. They can't share information, intelligence with them, while Russia can resupply its troops and remobilise its troops. Yeah, and he did apparently go on to say at the end, got it here, so I can't remember everything. Any settlement should be a complex, stable and long-term in nature, and must take into account the absolute need to eliminate the root cause of the crisis. It must also consider the legitimate interests of Russia in the area of its security. So effectively, if you go back to the reason why, or what Putin was actually stating, the reason why that they were wanting to invade Ukraine in the first place was to remove Ukraine as a sovereign state, as its own country, because they just don't see it as a legitimate country and they just see it as part of Russia. So effectively, the ceasefire, as the conditions that they've put out, will only benefit Russia, because it gives them a little bit of breathing space. In return, they'll stop bombing the energy infrastructure. So yeah, I can't really see that going anywhere going forward at all. Personally, and I think it's been coming out through several different sources that this isn't sort of surprising. It's just part of the delay tactics. Obviously, Russia is trying to retake all of that Kursk, which is the Russian area that the Ukraine managed to get an incursion into and take some of their land. That they were the hope was that they could use that as a bargaining chip. I think they've more or less lost most of that land now. And then there's the two cities that are in the so like in the south and east, like Donetsk. I can't remember the other one particularly off the top of my head. The regions, they pretty much hold those two regions, but they don't hold the cities. So a lot of this, I think, is to give the Russian troops time to take those two regions completely. Then they might talk more serious about a ceasefire. But pretty much all of Europe is of the opinion that they're just going to use that time. It might be months, or it could even be years, to rearm themselves to carry on and then do another invasion, and then take the rest of Ukraine. The other key sort of things that I've noted sort of from this week, also part of the talks is that there's going to be another prisoner exchange. I think there's about 175 POWs from both sides, including I think 23 Ukrainian injured soldiers that are going to be transferred over. So, yeah. Also in Germany today, the lawmakers have voted in favour of creating a €500 billion development fund, infrastructure fund for military use to help build their military defences up. I mean, in pounds, that's £420 billion. So it's a substantial amount. The unusual thing of that is that it's effectively allowing the government to have more debt higher than its GDP, which is quite unusual for Germany. They don't particularly like having high levels of debt, and they have very set rules around government borrowing. I think particularly when it comes to sort of military spending, given its past history. So yeah, that's and this all again comes off the back of the threats that that Europe is facing from Russia. The other significant thing that came out, I think it was today, was Poland and quite a few of the Baltic countries are. It looks like they're going to come out of a treaty regarding the use of anti-personnel mines and cluster munitions, which are effectively banned by many countries because of, well, they're not nice. Then again, war isn't nice, but and again, I mean, I think out of all the European countries, Poland is. I think they've been spending about 5% of GDP. They're the highest amount, and Donald Tusk has said that he would like every Polish man that's healthy to be trained, to have military training. Now, in what form that will take, into whether it will be conscription or it'd be something a bit more like RTA. Not entirely sure on that. I think more details will probably come out over the coming weeks and months, but I think the aim was that it would be implemented by 2030. So yeah, again, this is how sort of like Europe is very rapidly moving forward in terms of building its military. This all stems off the back of after things that Donald Trump has said to do with not just like, I mean, he's historically kind of been anti-European or anti-Euro. I mean, he famously said that the European Union was set up to basically set up against the US. I mean, originally it was set up as a free trade agreement, and then it kind of developed along there. I'm not going to get into that because, yeah, that's the whole can of worms. But I think at this moment in time, it's kind of, in terms of security for Europe, whether they manage to pull it off in being organised amongst each and every nation within the European Union, it can only be a good thing. The other significant thing that's come out this week is China. I mean, they're going to definitely be watching how the whole Ukraine scenario plays out, particularly how America reacts and what actions they actually take. Because it's well known that China basically wants Taiwan. They don't see it as similar with Russia or Ukraine. They don't see it as an independent sovereign country. They see it as part of China, and they want Taiwan to be back into the fold. I remember reading a report a few weeks ago saying how they were taking civilian ships and adapting them to be able to carry things like tanks, personnel carriers, supplies, other equipment, basically adapting them into amphibious beach landings. And then 4 days ago, it came out that they've been doing military drills of beach landings in the South China Sea. Now, coincidentally, the area that they've done it is only 1,000 miles off the coast of Taiwan itself, which was probably purposely done. But some of the images have come out from, there's been some satellite imagery that's come out, and as well as a few grainy photos. There was one particular reasonable one where you could see these 3 ships that were lined up and bridges between them, and effectively what they've done is created like what the Allies did in World War II when they created the Mulberry Docks for the D-Day landings in Normandy, which allowed British and American supplies to Allied supplies, because Australia and Canada and so many of the Commonwealth countries were involved as well, to get onto the beach and use it as a supply chain. They needed a dock, and effectively that's what they've done. So I think China are definitely going to be watching things very closely. They're obviously gearing up. I would suspect fully, if America doesn't seem to be coming down heavy on Putin, if battery's gone on one of the lights, if Ukraine end up conceding land, then I believe that will give China the green light to invade Taiwan. Now, a significant part with that is that America has always said that they would defend Taiwan against China. And how complicated this gets is because of how the American government, Trump being particularly, how he's been perceived as being quite friendly with Russia. I mean, there's been talks of bringing them back into the G7, which would make them the G8 again. Yeah. And other things about like lifting sanctions and so forth. I mean, I can see some sense of it. It's trying to sweeten Russia into things, but I mean, Putin's not that type of guy. He will lead America on like he is doing now, and effectively he will get what he wants. But the big question is, obviously, because one of the biggest supporters for Russia is China. They've been supplying ammunition and equipment that's got two purposes, civilian and military. They've kind of done it that way to kind of get around a few things, but it's obvious what they've been doing. So that then kind of puts a bit of a disruptive element into the whole. If America end up with war with China defending Taiwan, while at the same time trying to sweet talk Russia, which Russia basically depend on China for trade and military supplies. Yeah, I can't quite see how that's going to work, but I guess only time will tell on that. Anyway, the situation is constantly moving at quite a pace. I wanted to actually try and put this video out a few days ago, but I also wanted to know what happened today in order to try and understand and put something forward. But again, it raises more questions than it does answers. So it's going to be a case of watch this space. And like I say, me personally, I am trying to prepare to the best of my ability for things that I can do, and I'm going to share with you things that I'm doing. I've got a couple of videos that are going to come up that are a little bit more practical other than me just sat here. So yeah, that's things to look forward to. I found another way of storing food, one that's going to be a lot more long term for things that you can buy off the shelf, like dried goods particularly. So I'll do a little video on that. I'm also going to do one where I'm going to make soap. Let's face it, we all need soap. It's one of those things that it's kind of a bit of a necessity. And also it's something you'd possibly be able to trade with if, because let's face it, in a kind of apocalyptic type of scenario later on, money's not really worth anything. Things that are useful are worth everything, and soap may be being one of those. Anyway, hope you've got something from this. Join the discussion in the comment box below. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new to this channel. There's going to be a lot of videos coming up. I've got about nearly 150 videos on this channel of things like survival and bushcraft that I've done previously, and wild camping and all that sort of thing. So if you may be more into that, there's loads of content there for you to watch. You don't necessarily have to watch this kind of doom and gloom type of videos. Anyway, have a good evening, good day, good morning, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.